black alien goo.
Wrong topic, Neitshayd.
Welcome to Tea and Toffee's a twice monthly podcast. I'm Neitshayd, an ancient undead demon.
And hi, I'm Cecilia. I was a witch in my previous life. Look at that. And would you look at Neitshayd? You have a new hairstyle, I see.
Well, I just let it grow out. I let my hair grow out. Unfortunately, I had to straighten it because my curls just would not cooperate. You know how it is, bad hair day.
Yeah.
So I straightened it. Also, my little bow is still there, if you can see it. Right there.
Yeah, I could barely see it, but I could see it.
Yes. I look really nice from the back, but I can't show you that. Sorry. Don't want to move.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, having a podcast from the back, it's, no.
I'm a Genshin character now. I look better from the back. Well, I look fine from the front.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you're a Genshin character now. You need to run a lot.
I hate running.
To run a lot. Yeah. I mean, Mona just turns into water. So.
If only I could turn into ice or something. Or fire.
Like Ayaka?
I don't have an Ayaka, so I wouldn't know. But yeah.
Me neither, but I saw that once and was like, I didn't know someone else besides Mona did that.
It's so useful. Because she stops when you stop pressing the button.
Which sometimes also annoys me, but yes, quite useful. Anyways, we are not here to talk about Genshin today. We're also not here to talk about black alien goo. What are we here to talk about?
Look at the background. Guess what? Loki. The obvious.
Loki.
It's obvious. It literally. Yes. I actually literally wrote it this time. I usually don't do that.
But it's Loki.
I was like, okay, I'm obviously gonna do the crown, and I'm obviously gonna do the broken version, which is a comic thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not recent anymore, but it's a comic thing. It's actually not OG Loki thing. It's people who read the comics will know. But yeah, and then I drew that, and I was like, but I still have like half of this is still just boring green. What do I do? Is I was like, might as well. It's Loki.
Might as well
write his name.
Hey.
Anyway, yeah, I got a little bit sick of animated shows. We've done quite a lot of them recently. And we wanted to watch season 2 of Loki anyway, so I thought might as well. I think I might do most of the talking once again.
Of course you will.
And because I have too much to say, it's in 2 parts. I finally got around and I remembered it makes sense to like link all the parts in the descriptions. So once part 2 is out, it will be in the description.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense.
I went back and did that for all the episodes that have several parts. Yeah. Alright, we are going to talk about comics, obviously, briefly.
Briefly? Are you sure?
Also Loki as a LGBT plus icon in the comics versus the MCU mess erasing gender fluidity. That makes me mad. So mad. So mad. I have a lot to say about that. And that's all for this part actually, because I have a lot to say about that. And the next part.
Yes, you do.
Part 2 will be all about to be or not to be a Loki. In case of Sylvie, particularly. We're only really talking about Sylvie. And time travel multiverse shenanigans. I think we actually might have a discussion for once in that or not. We will see.
We will have to wait and see.
Yes. You and I, Cecilia, we will use he, him pronouns for Loki more often than not. But he is gender fluid. We're getting into that later, but for the sake of not confusing people, and I think MCU Loki he seems to use he, him pronouns anyway, so it should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, MCU. What is this? Phase 4? The bad one? Not so bad one? We will actually also get into the next. I think we have notes on that next episode, so.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. What everyone thinks of Phase 4 is the bad one. Yeah. Loki's not that bad, though. Is it good? Not sure anymore, but there are some gems in Phase 4 among all the rubbish. But they're hard to find. Is this. Or is it Phase 5? I'm not sure. I have lost.
Let me think. I think Loki season 1 is Phase 4 and season 2 might be Phase 5.
Yeah, because I was like, I think phase 5 is the thing now. I wasn't aware it had started, but apparently we're already in phase 5.
Yeah, it was like I didn't really notice like that there was a transition into phase 5 because it's like there was nothing really that is like, yeah, this is the end of phase 4 now.
Yes.
Like you had with the Avengers, Endgame, Infinity War, and the like. It was like, yeah, this is the end of this phase. We're now entering the next phase, and this time around, you just didn't have that.
That is something that will go into our notes of the next episode, because that's a good point. Yes. Marvel. You know, DC has better villains. Marvel has better heroes. In both cases, it's both hero, superhero, villain, supervillain, both, because I believe both comics have both versions. Yes, there's a difference. Anti-heroes depend on a case-by-case basis. I mean, Batman is obviously the best anti-hero ever. Also, specific universe we're talking about, because it's not only like film universe, and I mean, DC likes to redo them every now and then. But it's also the comics themselves have multiverses and stuff, but generally DC has better villains and Marvel better heroes. If you like me and prefer villains over heroes, then oddly enough, I prefer Marvel over DC. You would think that I would prefer DC, right?
Yeah, because villains.
Odd. I read quite a few of the comics, but that was years ago. But my memory is super odd and specific and random at times, so we'll see how much I remember.
Yeah, I didn't read the comics, except for one.
Yeah, no surprise there. Actually, it is a surprise that you read one. But we will get back to that later. Yeah, so there's the MCU. There's a lot of animated shows. There's the X-Men films. We should do those next. We're doing those next. X-Men comes next. The Fox film franchise, Fox movie franchise. But I will obviously go into comics as I usually do. And also, I finally started on Flag Means Death, so that's going on the list of soon-to-be-made episodes.
I suppose I will have to watch that soon.
I only watched 7 episodes so far from season 1. Season 1 has... No, I watched 6 episodes. Season 1 has 10 and season 2 has 8. It's really good. It got discontinued for season 3, but season 2 has a good ending, from what I heard. Anyway, it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and it's very good LGBT representation. So, before this is the first one in our Marvel. Oh gosh, I have to make a playlist for that, won't I? For later videos we might make or might not make whenever we feel like it. I'm probably gonna tag it Marvel so I can put X-Men in there as well, because they're not MCU, but Marvel. So, Cecilia, pick 3. Favorite and least favorite MCU characters, comics not counting, which is more of a constriction for me than you, but that's an important constriction. You will see why.
Yeah, I mean, I only read one comic, so not really that much in there. I like Doctor Strange and I like Loki. So those two are definitely in my top 3. Other person for top 3, maybe Iron Man. Not sure. Natasha is also cool. Oh, Goose the Flurkin.
Yeah.
Does that count?
Yes, of course that counts. It's a cat.
Yes. So then Doctor Strange, Loki, and Goose. Now moving on to the least favorite, Captain America. Definitely Captain America. That weird dude from Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't even remember his name.
Drax.
Because it's like,
Drax.
Yeah, Drax.
I remember.
That one. And, I don't know. I don't really care about most characters. And we haven't watched a lot of Phase 4 and 5.
Yeah, there might be some in there that we hate.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Maybe. Hard to know if you don't know them.
Yeah. My favorites are Loki, the Venom symbiote, and either Doctor Strange or Kilgrave. Especially because Kilgrave in the MCU is played by David Tennant, and I love David Tennant.
I know.
Wait.
I know.
No, never mind. Venom isn't part of the MCU. Because it's comics and Sony Spider-Man. It might become part of it for the third. We are not sure. It was teased in the Spider-Man thingy, but... Or was that the end credits, or was it both from the Venom 2? I'm not sure, but it was teased at least once. But as of now, it's not part of the MCU. So Loki, Doctor Strange, and Kilgrave. Because Kilgrave.
Yeah.
There's a lot about
favorite?
me. These three. Least favorite, well, obviously Captain America.
Well, that's only one.
He counts for 3. I hate Captain America. I cannot stand that man.
I know. I counted.
I mean, I suppose I dislike Wanda the Scarlet Witch as well, but I don't know, she's like a little annoyance in the movies, and but her TV show was fine until it was not. But I liked her in the comics.
But we are not counting comics.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if we were counting comics, my favorites would be so much more complicated, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Captain America, I hate that guy so much.
Captain America, and Captain America.
Yes,
Your least
Cecilia.
favorite.
Cecilia made a counter.
Captain America, Steve Rogers, and yeah.
Oh yeah, you made a counter when we first watched the MCU together some years ago. We did that at one point, right? We watched every install, or we tried. We gave up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We gave up on Moon Knight as well, so it was already starting on Phase 4 by then. But yeah, I think we ended with Loki or something.
Yeah, I think we did.
Do you still have the counter?
Well, yes. I archived it, but I still have it. And it says exactly 90 times in phases 1 to 3. And then 2 more times in Loki season 1. And I'm like, how did that even come up in Loki? But,
No comment.
It probably came up because of the start of Loki, because
oh yeah,
there were the other Avengers in there.
Might be, or maybe we just went into a conversation. Who knows?
Could be.
By the way, for your information, my favorite ship is Charles Xavier and Eric Lehnsherr. But nope, X-Men aren't part of the MCU, or are they? Multiverse of Madness might have made them part. They wanted to reboot the franchise. I mean, the rights did go back to Marvel by now. I will go into that in the X-Men episode. But TVA is against multiverse or not. We'll also get into that next part. Yeah, in Loki we will get into that.
It sounds all very complicated.
So that doesn't count. I mean, Venom, Symbiote, and Eddie Brock doesn't count because it's not part of the MCU, but I love those two. At least Symbrock. Symbrock is canon in most of the Venom comics. Cherrick is more complicated along the lines of reading between the lines and ignoring the opinion of certain writers. I will have to make a section about in the X-Men episode. A whole Cherrick section in the comic section of the X-Men episode. Don't try to stop me, Cecilia. It is inevitable.
Then I shall endeavor not to stop you.
Yes. There's also supposedly, like, there's a third Venom film scheduled for the end of 2024, right? And the first 2 weren't all that good, but I'm still looking forward to the third one, and I really like them, actually, and I probably force you to watch the first 2 before that with me, so then we can go to the cinema and then do an episode, and you have until October.
Okay. If they weren't good, why would the Venom symbiote be one of your favorites?
Black goo alien symbiote.
Yes, of course.
Also, there's this whole thing about the word being... Now I'm confused. Was it symbiote is the word and symbionte is the comic thing, or was it the other way around? I keep forgetting. It's like one of them is an outdated term, and it's specifically used only for the comic character this time, and the other one is the scientific one. And
I think
also,
it's Venom symbiont, but so
parasites count under symbiosis. Symbiosis doesn't automatically mean beneficial to both parties. In fact, there are 6 different possibilities wherein either of the 2 organisms involved can benefit, come to harm, or neither. Dear Internet, looking at you, power listing Wikia, symbiosis is not necessarily a positive relationship. It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So no, not necessarily. It's an umbrella term. So they should specify.
Anyway, yeah, I think I derailed us enough. We are not here to talk about Venom after all. We had to talk about Loki. As much as I would love to talk about Venom.
Maybe we can talk about Venom in a later episode.
I'm also, it's like I'm doing a Cherrick part. I'm also definitely gonna do a Symbrock part because, oh gosh, those two. Let a demon dream, you know.
But, okay, we're not here to talk about Venom. We're here to talk about Loki. So, comics. Loki comics.
Yes, TV series later, comics first. Timestamps exist, as always, if anyone wants to skip this section. Comics. Me. Right.
I have read one
Marvel.
for one.
Marvel. Everyone knows Marvel. Please don't confuse it with DC. Some people still confuse it with DC for some reason. I don't know how at this point. It's been ages. Marvel and DC are way older than you, Cecilia, and you're not that young anymore. Well, depends on who you ask.
True.
You're baby to me. So, Loki, the character, is old. One of the oldest Marvel characters that persisted to this day, because there are a lot of old ones that just didn't make it. There are older ones like, you know who I mean, the Golden Age dude. The one we're supposed to love.
I'm screaming America.
Loki is more of a Silver Age character, but still, he's old.
I've no idea what you're talking about with Silver Age, but okay.
Golden Age, Silver Age, it's comic lore. DC also had those. He is based obviously on the Norse mythology deity, whose background is complicated to pin down and varies quite a bit depending on the sources. But either way, Norse mythology Loki and Marvel Loki are very different. Norse mythology Loki and MCU Loki are extremely different. Myth Loki was apparently probably Odin's sworn brother. Whether he was a frost giant or a god of fire and or born from chaos, well, who knows? And there is a Jotun Loki, but that's a different Loki than Aesir Loki. They're two different characters, persons, people, thingies. And Aesir Loki might be half Jotun, and Loki might have been his mother rather than his father, or not.
Norse mythology is always so confusing.
Yeah, it's complicated. I'm not a Norse mythology expert. Sorry. I only know that Norse mythology is really, really complicated to pin down because most sources are of varying reliability.
Yeah, that's what happens when the people who actually believed in it didn't make written records at the time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I'm not here to try and make sense of Norse mythology. I know more than Cecilia does, and Cecilia is usually the average, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I have you for. I can't do this on my own. I need someone to be like, this is what's normal, Neitshayd.
Yeah.
Like, people will be like, what? But yeah, I can confidently say that it's complicated. More so because of the sources available to us than the extra myths, as mentioned. But then again, how would we even know how complicated it is or not if the sources are making things hard? Comic Loki. Cecilia, go first.
Well, yes, I can't say I have read the comics. I started reading one of them way back then. I don't even know how long it's been, but what was it called? Vote Loki, where Loki tries to become president of the USA.
Yep, that is Vote Loki. He appears in the show. We see him.
Yeah, I think that's how it came up because you mentioned it, and then I so must have been like when we first started watching the first season that I afterwards wanted to read the comic. But yeah, I started it. I didn't finish it.
When did that come? So when season 1 came out, right?
Yeah, when season 1 came out.
I'm gonna quickly look that up.
I wanted to read it before bed, but then I got too tired to finish it that day, and I just didn't continue reading it the next day. 2021.
So it's been 3
years.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Don't know why I didn't continue reading the next day, but yeah, no comics, no surprise there. But then, to everyone's surprise, I picked it up again.
What?
And I even finished it.
You what?
Can you believe it?
You did?
Yes, I read it and I even finished it.
Wow.
I know, a rare thing indeed. Yeah, but it was a fun read. It was Loki being Loki, as always, lying, manipulating, and you never really know what his actual goal is. Like, I don't know how much was planned and how often he just went with the flow. Like, all I know is that he will leave you wondering about his motives. Maybe it was all planned from the beginning. Maybe a part was planned. Or maybe he just wanted to have some fun and mess with people. Anyways.
Sounds like Loki.
Yeah, that's the only comic I read. But by now, I know a few things about the comics in general, even though I haven't read that, because I have a Neitshayd talking about the comics, so I picked some stuff up at least. So here's what I know. There are different Lokis in the comics. Like, there's a kid Loki, a teenage Loki, a classical Loki, apparently also an alligator Loki.
Not in the comics.
Okay, not in the comics.
As far as I remember, no.
But yeah, you talk about kid Loki, teenage Loki, and classic Loki. And there's a bloody ton more than that. But we only meet a few in the Loki series. And apparently not all of them are in the comics, if you say no alligator. But very important thing as well. Loki is gender fluid in the comics, which we will get into later.
Yes.
And wasn't there something with the creators of the comics being different for every arc?
Yeah, that's just basic comic etiquette. Not for all, but DC and Marvel and some others. Big shots like Marvel and DC, at least, there's like writers and artists change quite often, and they all take different spins on characters and continue other stories. But if you're not the same author, then no matter how hard you try, like it's like with fan fiction, just in this case, it's an official capacity. It's you can get it down really, really, really well, but in the end, it's always gonna have a bit of your personal influence. And some just go in a different direction anyway. Some reboot the character and so on. It's like it depends a lot on the writer, right?
Yeah.
Some characters that have so many. For Loki, it's fitting, but for others, you're like, okay, which version do? Same for Venom. It's like there's some versions where I'm like, why did the writer decide on this? Most of them I'm like, yes. But some I'm like, guys, Simbrock is canon, guys. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that's about the extent of what I know, and most of it I know from you. So now you may continue and fill in all the rest.
Basic book Loki, comic book Loki lore, which, like I said, the comics like to retcon their characters and all that, so keep that in mind. Is that Loki is Thor's brother, rather than Odin's sworn brother. He learns of his frost giant heritage and turns into a jealous supervillain trying to take Asgard's throne. That's the basis of classic Loki in some of his iterations. He has always been very popular, even when he was still... You saw classic Loki in the show. Yes, that was his outfit. Still popular. Yeah, he was blonde originally. Would you look at that?
He could have made better fashion choices.
He was blonde. They also had like a sequence where he was actually married to Sigyn, his Norse mythology wife, and the scene with the snake dripping venom in his eyes. That actually happened in the comics at one point. But we're not sure that it's still canon or not. It's complicated. So, yeah. He received several comic series with protagonist roles, actually. In the beginning, he was just always there as a villain in the background, or not in the background so much. With Thor, a lot of the time, most of the time. But yeah, he also received some for himself. Some of which I read. Actually, all of which I read. But some of them are Journey into Mystery, the 2011 one, because apparently there's another one. Loki, Agent of Asgard, that one's so good. Good Loki, and I think I also read Young Avengers. Where he plays a major role in that one, but he's not the only protagonist in that one. From what I remember, Loki was, during that phase, in conflict with himself. Literally. Because shenanigans with old Loki. The last thing I read was him changing gender spontaneously in an older teenage version. If I can find it, I'll put it on screen. I believe that was the latest comic issue at the time. And the internet tells me, that happened towards the end of Loki, Agent of Asgard. And that was in 2014-15, oh gosh. Oh gosh,
it's been so long.
I read this when it had just come out. Feels like yesterday, but no, it's been an entire decade, apparently. Holy shit. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I skipped through Young Avengers, but I don't remember much of it. Other than there was this one scene with... We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, there's also apparently Loki, Mistress of Mischief. But no, that's a collection of female Loki's appearances in various Thor comics, so that doesn't count. That's a bit... Sometimes you have a series that is an actual honest series, like new issues releasing with story and stuff, and sometimes it's just a collection of issues from other series, so you need to be careful if you want to... If you're new to comics and don't know, always be a bit careful about what you want and what you buy and what you get and stuff.
Yeah, always pay close attention.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of comics like Marvel and DC, because it's like when I enjoy something, then it just ends and what comes after is different, and I'm like, I don't see the appeal, to be honest. I don't see the appeal. It's like, I love Venom, but I always hate that, like, every writer takes... It can be fun, but I prefer it if you have, like, One Piece. Thousands of chapters, telling one continuous story of the same characters from the same author and artist, and it's like, yeah, that's what I want. Much prefer that. Yeah. So apparently there's also a new 2023 Loki series, but I have no idea I haven't read it. I don't know what's going on there, so who knows?
Who knows?
By the way, there is a character named Sylvie Lushton in the comics. She's known as Enchantress. She's the second Enchantress, modeling herself after the first Enchantress. She is a human who got her powers from Loki. Might have even been created by Loki, but yeah.
So that would mean she's not a Loki.
No, she's not. But I'm assuming she was the inspiration for the TV Sylvie character. That's where the name and the enchanting came from.
Oh, I see.
So from what I vaguely remember, the enchanting thing was also different in the comic. Let's see if I can pin down comic Loki. Well, the easy part is he's gender fluid and bisexual. Even before getting his own comic series, he had no qualms taking over female bodies like Lady Sif and the Scarlet Witch. Very fun, that. Dies occasionally, but it never really sticks. He usually reincarnates in some other body or form. Journey into Mystery features Kid Loki for one. Also general Marvel multiverse shenanigans. We got a Thor and Loki gender bend version, or 2 or more. By the way, the Kid Loki is like, okay, he reincarnates as Kid Loki after he dies, but also his old self is still around. And then he kind of grows up into teenage Loki, but not in a gradual way. And it's just, I have a realization and now I'm older or something. It's...
Okay.
Well, he's not a normal human being after all, right?
Yeah, that's true.
TV show Loki, I'm sorry, but that's not gender fluid representation. Even if you write fluid under sex in the profile thingy from the TVA and give us a female Loki variant that feels nothing like Loki at all, that is not gender fluidity. More on that in the corresponding section. Generally, it's like this with all comic characters that appear throughout the ages. Like every writer has a different trait, every artist has a different style. Probably might get deeper into that when we get around to Venom, because I'm more into Venom than Loki. I love Venom more than Loki. Like alien.
And that says a lot.
I love Venom. By the way, Venom is the combination of the Venom symbiote and Eddie Brock. Sometimes Spider-Man. There's a whole thing with Spider-Man in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Black Alien. So characterizing comic Loki gets hard for that reason alone, and it gets harder because the character itself, as you may have noticed, is one that undergoes many changes as part of even one singular story at times. Double difficulty, you could say. Yeah, he dies during Ragnarok, comes back as a woman, is reincarnated as a kid, sacrifices himself, sort of, but not really, grows up, but also not really, turns into his own enemy, is part of multiverse shenanigans, takes over his own body from another him. Get the drift.
Yes, I get the drift.
Many traits we might ascribe to Loki as of the current comic material available to us. The main traits, not many. The main traits are... Currently, he's a mischievous trickster god of various things. Of the god of evil, of lies, chaos, story, outcasts, etc. Comic Loki really likes collecting titles. I think he admits to that at one point. He likes collecting titles. He has a complicated relationship with Asgard and its citizens, with Thor in particular. He has a complicated relationship with themselves, in the metaphorical and literal sense of the word themselves. Because he's someone who betrays people quite a lot and tries to change sometimes, but also not. And fails to change, and it's kind of his thing, and there's a whole destiny, yada yada yada. Writers tend to take a different stance on that one, though. He's gender fluid, mentioned that. He cheats death more often than you can count, with a variety of different methods that he came up with. Some are more powerful and long-lasting than others, like having Hela erase his name from the Book of Hell, with one L in this case. Yes, both one L hell and two L hells. One L hell and two L's hell exist. I looked it up. They are pronounced the same, apparently. It's,
wow.
But yeah, one is the Norse hell and the other is the other hell, and they both exist in Marvel.
Hell and hell. Okay, but if he cheats Death a lot, then Lady Death must be so mad at him. Or does she like him? It reminds me and makes me think of Deadpool.
Who knows? More, I guess. Like I said, it's hard. So
it's very hard.
Yeah. I think that's all I have to say about Comic Loki, because it's really hard to pin him down, but it's a fun read if you can, I forgot the words. Words are failing me.
Words are failing you.
If you're fine with people, with authors and writers and artists changing, then it's, if you don't mind as much, then it's really fun to read about him. But you have to be careful, because the MCU is not the only Marvel thing that has its issues with LGBT. Comic Loki also has some. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Actually, let's get into that, right into it, the LGBT stuff. So, Marvel Loki versus Marvel and the Erasure of Genderfluidity, because, dude, why?
Yeah, why? Like, from what I've gathered in the comics, Loki changes gender as they please. And it fits very well. Like, Loki always does as he pleases. So why would the gender be the exception? Like, sometimes the appearance of a Loki, sometimes the appearance of a Loki, sure. Sometimes the appearance of a woman suits Loki's cause better. And sometimes the appearance of a man is, like, better suited for the current plans. And Loki just does whatever suits best for whatever fits best for the current plan, what helps in achieving the goal they currently have in mind. But gender fluid. And then I look at the MCU and I'm like, where? It's written here in the case file, but I don't see it anywhere. Where did it end up?
Yeah. So I should probably address the comic representation.
Yes, you should.
Because it's Marvel. The MCU is an indicator of it. Marvel has always had a history of problematic LGBT plus representation for various reasons. The MCU barely has any representation at all, which is problematic in itself. And I read several Loki featuring comics. I read some Avengers stuff, some X-Men issues, almost all issues that are related to Venom. So there's a whole chunk of Marvel universe missing that I've looked into via wikis, but I haven't read it myself. And I'll go into Loki in a moment. But I've mentioned Jarek and Zimborg when I derailed us earlier. Charles and Eric are not an LGBT plus representation, unfortunately, because it's all subtext, and some of that subtext was not intentional because writers actively tried not to make it subtext, but it happened anyway. So, yeah. Venom does count. Eddie and his symbiote have a loving, if occasionally toxic relationship, and that's not hetero because this symbiote is basically just black alien goo. But even that sometimes got, it's like some writers were actively against that and made it a very unhealthy, toxic thing. But most of them didn't. Or it's just, if you ignore the writer's will, separate the art from the artist, then lots of them are actually really, they go on cinema dates. It's just Eddie holding hand with a black alien goo hand, but holding hands with it works. It works. Anyway,
as long as it works.
Yeah, first things first. LGBT plus general. So Loki's sexual orientation.
Sure.
So he is said to be bisexual in both comics, the book comics and the TV show, but in both we are only ever told this and never actually shown. Which better than nothing, but get with the times. There is a scene in Young Avengers where Loki casually mentions that sexual orientation as the humans view it isn't a thing on Asgard. Or he says his culture, but he probably means Asgard, which also funny you would say that because we don't really see that to my knowledge. Or maybe we do and I just missed it. Because Asgard is like a whole lot of other characters as well, right?
Yes.
You would expect to at least see it once somewhere. Maybe it is. In comics I haven't read. Would be nice. Earlier Marvel comics about Asgard, Thor, Loki, and so on did tag quite a few stories from Norse mythology. I mentioned Sigyn and the snake venom earlier. Loki's children are also part of that. Hela. Although she got retconned later, but oh well. The Fenris wolf, the Ragnarok thing, and so on. And Norse mythology, Loki had supposedly relations with various people of varying genders and species, being father or mother to several children. But as mentioned, Norse mythology is complicated.
With a horse birthing Odin's war horse.
Either way, as he's based on that character, there's some stuff in there, some representation, I suppose, or it's implied or something, but yeah. Norse mythology Loki and early comic days Loki, both, use sex and having children more for their own gain than actual pleasure. But the fact remains that they have a very open-minded and unconventional take on sexuality. Anything goes, really. And for a true shapeshifter, that does make a whole lot of sense. Both for the the intercourse and the gender, biological, both. It's just anything goes. In this case, right? For a true shapeshifter, that does make a lot of sense, right? He can turn into anything he wants to be. Or just take over bodies. It's the representation is not ideal. There's also some misogyny in there, but I suppose it's super old and stuff. But it is there, and the more recent comics made it a really, really good thing. But yeah, so it's like, yeah, he is sexuality. He is bisexual, pansexual, whatever. He just doesn't care. He doesn't have sex for the pleasure. He has it for his own to further his own goals, right?
Right.
Yeah, MC Loki doesn't do that ever. Neither the relationship part nor the change shift. He doesn't even shapeshift. Not even that. Pretending to be Odin for a while doesn't count. But at least, I suppose, MCU Loki is now canonically bisexual. The good thing about the way it was the way it's presented in the TV show is how casual it is. No fuss about it. Very natural. And I suppose that is it is there at all, but honestly, Marvel get with the times. The bad thing,
if only.
Bad thing is this is it. That's all we got. Just one casual throwaway line.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot. Basically nothing.
But it's like it goes hand in hand, right? The sexuality and the gender identity thing.
Yeah,
like I said, early days, but still in the comics, it's set in stone, canon gender fluidity. I'm still using him. Is both reborn as male and female versions. Sometimes takes over female bodies. Can change his appearance, including his biological sex and species at will. He does so. I know biological sex and gender are not the same thing. There's a debate about that. Depends on the writer as well. Always depends on the writer. So I would say early comics Loki only changes his biological sex and not actually his gender. But he still doesn't mind being in a female body, so there's that. Whereas later comic Loki actually is definitely gender fluid. There's this very lovely scene in, I think that was Agent of Asgard, or Young Avengers, maybe both. I cannot remember an agender in-between version, but they might exist, or not. It would be perfectly in character for Loki, but to be honest, it's already a wonder we get to see him change between male and female in the first place. Yeah, Marvel, a good representation. If only. Anyway, comic Loki has been established as gender fluid for several decades already. Like I said, earlier days more change about sex and just going with it because it makes manipulating others more convenient. Portrayal was problematic in places, but Loki, Agent of Asgard, it's a really, really good one. You technically need some earlier comics for context, but you can read it on its own. It's really good. If you're a Loki fan, go read it. That one was the latest, the most recent one that made him really, really, actually, truly gender fluid. And Loki calls themselves a gender fluid demigod, actually, at one point. And Loki points out here and there that he's a lady sometimes. Odin also is completely cool with that. He might be a terrible father otherwise, but he does get that part right. I love that.
At least something.
Yeah, older comics have the issues. Obviously, really old newer comics. Well, I say newer, but Agents of Asgard is already tackled old. Whew. They do Loki's character and gender fluidity proper justice. Like Agent of Asgard and Young Avengers do it really, really well, in my opinion. And then some later comic series featuring Loki do reaffirm this, but not all of them. Like writers of other series that feature Loki. Quite a few Thor comic series, not all these days, but still seem to forget all about it. It's a bit sad. And that counts as Erasure, doesn't it? Yeah, not all Sunshine Roses in the Marvel comic universe choices of writing. But like some comics these days acknowledge it, some don't. If they do, they're generally done well. I haven't read comics for years though, so... Yeah, the last one I read was 2015. Or when
long time ago.
or maybe a few years after. I don't know when Agents of when Young Avengers came out, but doesn't matter. Yeah, TV show Loki, no sign of gender fluidity whatsoever.
We get a Sylvie. It's a female Loki, but that's not what being gender fluid means. Marvel.
Mm-hmm. Like, sure, we got that one female variant that calls herself Sylvie and feels like a completely different independent character that's not a Loki at all. And we got an alligator. But
alligator Loki.
Those are variants. And no matter how often the series tells us that they're still Loki, for one, it doesn't feel like it, and for another, it isn't even really written like that. I'll try to untangle that mess in a different section of next episode. To be or not to be a Loki.
You know, the alligator felt more like a Loki than Sylvie did in the end.
Oh, yes, definitely. Like, there was a TV show original edition, as far as I'm aware, and it was a really good one. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He bit off President Loki's hand. I love that scene so much. That one was awesome. Yeah, ultimately, none of these variants change gender or even species on screen whenever they feel like it. It's like, yeah, you have an alligator Loki, but he never changes species, and none of the others do. It's just one iteration of one thing, and just shapeshifter. Anyone? Shapeshifter? No?
Yeah, apparently not. That's not what we get to see. It's like I would have loved to see it. And it's like you mentioned this earlier that the TVA file on Loki said sex fluid. This could mean that Loki doesn't have a defined gender within the MCU. Loki and Sylvie never changed gender in the series, after all. So it doesn't seem like they're gender fluid. But then again, the file is specific for our protagonist, Loki, and not a file about all Lokis. And this would mean our Loki can change his sex however he pleases. He's a magician, after all.
Shapeshifter.
Well, maybe shapeshifter is more accurate than a magician. But anyways, he doesn't just change gender, he changes his biological sex as well. So why does he never do that on screen? This seems like such a lost opportunity.
Yeah. Shapeshifter. You know, the entire MCU at one point certainly forgot that he was a frost giant, but they're also completely, in the series, they completely forgot about his magic and shapeshifting abilities. Completely.
Yes. It's like, we get a little bit of magic maybe here and there, but so many situations could have been made easier with magic, with shapeshifting. It's, they completely forgot about that. And the gender fluid part on the case file just seems like an Easter egg in the end. Do they just want protagonist Loki to only ever be played by Tom Hiddleston?
Who ages?
Yeah, who ages. And that was really visible to me in season 2. I was like, oof.
And the fun part is CGI and also makeup. The abilities of makeup artists. You can actually do something about that. It's fine, an actor changes. I don't mind that, but yeah.
Yeah, even if you don't want to have like protagonist Loki want to randomly change his sex, let another Loki do it. We have enough Loki where you said variants, I think. The show calls them variants. We have enough Loki variants for that. So just give it to another Loki in that case.
Yeah,
it's like
we have so many. That's one scene that would have already been well, not enough, but it would have already been better than what we got.
But
have just right. I have more on that. I have more on that.
Yeah, but I also have more to say. They also make it seem as if Sylvie is more competent than the other Lokis. At least in season 1, I really got that impression.
Yeah, they do.
Are women just more competent than men? And that's why we can't have some gender fluidity here? Because then we would have so many competent Lokis that this whole issue would have been solved already, and we obviously can't have that. But that would also imply that more female Lokis should be at the end of time, and we only really get to see male Lokis and an alligator Loki.
Yeah, and Sylvie put herself there.
Yes, she put herself there. And this whole argument I'm trying to make here is redundant anyways, because Loki is gender fluid. It's not defined as male or female. It's gender fluid. So all the excuses are just excuses at the end of the day, and I have no desire to try and defend this decision on the writer's part. But I still want to know why they decided on this course of action, so that I can tell them why their reasons are stupid.
We're not the first.
Stupid
we're not the
reasons.
first to complain about it.
Nice.
It's,
Okay, I'm done with complaining for
I don't
now.
understand
now
what was so hard about this. I mean, I don't understand gender in general, so yeah. Just have you have so many variants. Just have some of them change gender spontaneously. Well, shapeshifter, so I suppose sex and gender both.
Yes, let us just happen like for first season. We have a gaggle of Lokis there. Just let one of them change randomly, shapeshift.
Gaggle
you know?
of Lokis. Yeah, and I mean, I said this before. It's like I look at gender as skirts, right? Just have them change skirts. Everyone should wear skirts. Skirts are awesome.
Everyone should wear skirts.
And
skirts are awesome.
The skirt thing is a whole lot dependent on cultural things, and it's very interesting. And the same applies to gender.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't get gender. Not really. I'm like, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It's a thing. If I wanna wear dresses, I'm wearing dresses. If trousers were comfortable, I would wear trousers if I wanted to, but they're so uncomfortable. If I want to say I'm a man, then I suppose I'm a man. I'm not. I'm also not a woman or a girl or whatever. I'm whatever. Can I be whatever? I'm allowed to be whatever.
You can be whatever, but
and then people come and be like, you look like a woman, you sound like a woman, you dress like a woman. Yes, I love heels. I'm tiny. Excuse you. Also click clack, click clack.
Click clack, click clack. I was about to say that your new hairstyle is also more on the feminine side.
I know. I mean, I could change. Let me do that for part 2. Just change. I have a more neutral one.
Yeah.
But I like this
just
hairstyle.
To make a point.
Excuse you. I can be 100% female representing and not be a female. Because I don't understand the difference. I only understand the biological sex difference. But that's biology, and that doesn't apply to me
to understand
because I'm not human, right? It's weird. So,
it's weird.
Erasure. We meet several Loki variants, right? Variants. Time variance authority, but it's variants.
Yeah, it's English pronunciation, you know?
Maybe that's American.
Time variance authority.
Maybe that's American. I don't know. I mean, privacy and privacy. Variants, right?
Variants.
Yeah, we meet several Loki variants. Gosh damn it.
We meet several Loki variants.
Towards the end of season 1. There is no sign. They are shown as male and an alligator. The episode's title, Journey into Mystery, is the only one I remember, by the way, because it's a direct reference to a Loki comic series. A really good one. Yeah. Gaggle of Lokis. And the reference. It's fun, but it's missing something. Something to do with gender and liquids.
Liquids? As in fluids?
You said that. Because that sounds like an innuendo.
I said that. Oh.
That's why I said liquids instead.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes.
We also get a God of Outcasts reference from classic Loki, which is nice, but it is in the wrong place. Clearly, the writers didn't read the comics. If you read the comics, you'd know why it's in the wrong place.
But I didn't, so I don't.
You should read them. At least.
Maybe.
You should at least read Loki, Agent of Asgard.
I have so much other stuff to read first.
And then there was this certain comment. I love classic Loki, but classic Loki has this line of a female variant sounding terrifying, which tells us that classic Loki is certainly not gender fluid in any capacity, and he's like the closest we get to original MCU Loki. Because he lived the entire life exactly as intended, and then just, in typical Loki fashion, faked his death. Sylvie is apparently unique. And that means there are no gender-fluid Loki variants. And thus, there is no representation of a non-binary character to be found here. Typical MCU.
Nice.
And perhaps the show writers didn't understand what the term gender fluid means, but that is no excuse when there are so many resources available, and looking it up hardly takes up much time. And even I, as someone who has issues with gender, understands what gender fluid means.
I could have looked that up in a coffee break and would have made better representation.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's another throwaway line in season 1, before the giggle of Loki's actually, where Sylvie tells Loki something along the lines of being born the goddess of mischief and how that caused a branch in the timeline, which is another erasure. And she does later ask Renslayer about her Nexus event, so she didn't even know what caused it at that point, at the point where she makes that throwaway line about, right? That makes the whole thing superfluous. They could have just left that entire implication about her gender being the cause out entirely.
Yes, they could have. They should have. They didn't.
I mean, maybe it was just poor wording, but it rubbed me the wrong way.
It's like, if this character is supposed to be gender fluid, then their gender shouldn't have any influence on the timeline, like, at all.
Exactly. I personally do not much care about being underrepresented. I mean, am I being about humans being underrepresented?
Definitely.
In both gender identity and sexual orientation. I appreciate when it's there, and that's that, but I'm most definitely not the norm. And it's underrepresentation is different from actual active erasure.
Yes. There's
so,
a difference.
I mean, technically I've been around in this world long enough to have been present where everything outside cishet was not accepted. That was a time that was the case. Not talked about, not represented. Actively persecuted in certain spaces. I just didn't really engage with it. I didn't even realize it was a thing people did. Humans confuse me. It's like I was around at that time, but I didn't notice, and only later I was like, oh yeah, huh.
Yeah.
But why did they do that? Why is it still so hard for them to just be whatever about it?
Humans.
Yeah, large part is comes from A, to this day I'm not going out much, not engaging with a whole lot with unfriendly people and hostile online spaces, and B, don't give a damn about human standards and norms. Right?
Yes.
Humans
you're an undead demon,
weird.
you have to disguise every time you go out.
Just wear a hat and pretend the horns are part of the hat. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
That's the fun part about hair dye. No one will blink an eye.
Oh yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, my hair is totally dyed.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Not the natural color at all.
It's like, let's put myself into a human conversation, human field standard thingy. So my gender identity is literally whatever. That doesn't change. My sexual and romantic orientation are non-existent. It's like, it's a bit hard to care about not being represented if you think about it like that, right? For me, that is. But humans often feel otherwise. I think I understand that more or less. What I don't understand is why humans make such a big deal out of different identities. Like, why they have to exist in the first place? Apart from finding like-minded people. Like, of course, okay, you are only interested in male representing people, for example, no matter your own gender. Then it would make sense to be like, okay, this is what I'm interested in. Are you interested in the gender I represent as? That's, of course, would make right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's like if it doesn't match, it doesn't match. Okay, sad, whatever. Otherwise, why would we need those boxes? And like, I like books. You don't. Well, Cecilia likes books, but someone else might not like it. There are a lot of people who don't like books. That's fine. No one cares about that. I don't like people, but you like people. Why should that matter?
It's different, the humans say. But yeah, it really shouldn't matter.
I like books. I don't like people. Still. I love cats. There are people who do not like books, who do like people, who hate cats. I'm actually, how dare you? How dare you not like cats? How dare you hate cats? If you're allergic, okay,
you can't ever hate cats.
I understand if you're allergic, but you should never hate a cat. Cats are the best thing to happen to this planet.
Yeah.
And books. Books and cats.
And chocolate.
I was about to say coffee.
Well,
says the person.
We can't
agree on the coffee,
but
says the person for who coffee doesn't even work for me.
Nougat.
It does nothing.
Nougat ice cream.
Nougat ice cream. Yes, nougat. Okay, books, cats, and nougat ice cream. Nougat ice cream, best flavor ever. But yeah. No, the thing that irks me about the Loki TV series is that they kept advertising it as representation, kept giving their audience hope that the show would include Loki's identities, and then they didn't.
Nothing whatsoever.
Nothing whatsoever. Exactly. Except for that one throwaway line about his bisexuality and a female Loki variant. That really doesn't count because she's just Sylvie.
Like, they wrote it on the file. Isn't that perfect representation?
No. No, it's not, Marvel. No, it's not.
Marvel seems to think so. We just and we can't disagree more.
There is so much comic material that could have drawn inspiration from. So many resources about all sorts of identities out there. So many people to get advice from, and they did none of it. They teased their audience, gave them hope, and then did not deliver. That's a move. That is rotten.
Meanish.
And it gets worse. It gets worse because when bringing in other variants, they actually actively get rid of even the possibility of a gender-fluid Loki. Entirely. So they didn't simply leave it out, they actively erased it. If it were just the Lokis present in that scene, then we're the ones that represent an alternative narrative. We're the ones that are definitely not non-binary. The ones that are not binary, I mean.
Yes.
You know, not non-binary. Yeah. Where are they? Where are they? Marvel, where are they?
Where are they indeed?
They didn't.
Not there.
It's like, they didn't get pruned because they're canon, but they're not canon, and all your implications erase it, and it's
bad.
It's bad. It's bad. And it's like, I don't mind that it's not represented. I mind that they actively teased. It's like they promised it and then erased it, did the opposite. Also, let us not forget, Loki was already dead at this point in the MCU, and so most certainly falls under the bury your gays trope. Which I have to mention that it applies when you kill off your only LGBT plus representation. It does not apply when you kill part of the representation, like you kill a gay character but you still have others, then it is not bury your gays. It applies when you bury your only, or if you have 3 gays and kill all 3 gays, then it's bury your dead. If you have 5 gays and kill all 3 gays, then it's not.
Because there's some would be alive and kicking.
Yeah, it's just make it rounded, right? Balanced. Just it doesn't matter. It's like it shouldn't matter whether your character is LGBT or not. It shouldn't matter for killing them off.
It should just be another aspect of, do they like books or not?
But
do they like cats or not?
Marvel buried its gays.
Dogs?
Marvel did it in reverse. Loki was dead first, then confirmed bisexual, but at least he's known to never stay there, so that's something.
Now he's stuck at the end of time and will never come back, so
there's also, I'm just gonna mention it, there's a whole paragraph that could be said about reading Sylvie as trans and Loki being her dead name and how well or not so well the show handled that. But neither Cecilia nor I are rather right people to talk about that particular topic, so we'll leave that up to the people who are.
Exactly.
Yes, this is where we'll end it.
Yeah, I think we rented enough for one episode.
It's just... Part 2 will be more of a discussion between us, hopefully. We will see. Part 2 will also be less heavy, less us angry. More us like, oh, Marvel, you f***ed up, but whatever. It's fine. It's Marvel. In the meantime, you can find us on X, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube at Toffees. I also play games live on Saturdays with Cecilia, joining via chat or on Twitch. Occasionally I post random art on Instagram, both at Neitshayd. It's in the description.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a comment. Who are your favorite and least favorite MCU characters?
What did you think of the erasure of gender fluidity? What is your take on gender? Yeah, tell me your take on gender and skirts. Do you like skirts? Everyone should like skirts. I hope you love cats. If you don't, get out of here. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Do you like skirts? Do you like cats?
Everyone is entitled to their own opinion in the end. Yeah. Like I said, part 2 will be about Sylvie not being a Loki. Neitshayd, that's me. Hi. ranting about Kang the Conqueror
Bye.
and timeline multiverse shenanigans. Until then, bye.
Bye.